Hey y'all, this is AB on AB, and we are at the fight for Willow Creek, and you can see, not from this position, but right up the road here is Willow Creek itself, and I'm going to show you that in just a minute, but I want you to see the sign that's out here. And basically at this point, General William Baldwin's brigade under Bowen had reached Willow Creek about the time Martin Green's brigade is driven from Magnolia Church. And so Bowen has Baldwin form his troops in this undergrowth-filled bottom, the rebel cannoneers, and place the guns on the ridge. You can see as the road climbs behind me there. And about noon on the 1st, McClernand's Union Corps started the advance again. And they met Baldwin here in this area. Bowen decided to send Cockrell's 2 Missouri regiments around out this direction to try to flank the Federals on the right. They surprised and rolled up Colonel Slack's brigade, and because of the cane breaks, much of the fighting took place at ranges of 20 yards or less. And so what Hovey decided to do was mass 24 pieces of artillery, and I told you that because of these cane break filled ravines, that artillery would have been massed on a ridge top. And so Cockrell was pushed back by this line of artillery, but Bowen wanted to go again. He told Baldwin to attack now, and Baldwin was repulsed. And so Bowen was just a guy that just was a fighter. He was the best performing Confederate division commander here. Stevenson was the other one that I pointed out. You also have Martin Smith and John Forney, but they don't feature until you get to the Vicksburg campaign. Stevenson's not here, of course. He's at Champion Hill. Also have Loring at Champion Hill. Loring gets cut off at Champion Hill, and he doesn't factor in the Vicksburg campaign. But around 6 p.m., word is received that the Yankees have defeated the Confederates on the Bruinsburg Road, and that was the action I talked about under McPherson's 17th Corps. They're out on the Bruinsburg Road, which is that direction. And so to combat Osterhaus's advance along the Bruinsburg Road, you have Edward Tracy's Alabama Brigade, and Tracy is sent over there to stop the thrust. Well, while he's there, he buys the farm. Tracy is hit, he is killed, and he's one of 5 Confederate generals that will be killed during the Vicksburg campaign. Colonel Isham Garrett is selected to replace General Edward Tracy, and Isham Garrett will buy it during the siege of Vicksburg. He will be defending Fort Garrett. He will have just been promoted. In fact, I don't think he even knows that he's been promoted to general. He thinks he's still a colonel, and he is killed defending Fort Garrett. And so, like Ed Bars always says, you don't want a fort named after you. And so Isham Garrett will later die in the Vicksburg trenches. But at this point, Edward Tracy has been killed, and Isham Garrett has to defend over on the Bruinsburg Road. Over there, it doesn't go as well. Osterhaus overpowers him and defeats him, and his brigades are streaming back towards the town of Port Gibson. And so down here, Bowen realizes if he does not pull back, he will be outflanked and cut off. And so Bowen has to take Baldwin, what's left of Green's brigade, and Cockrell, and they have to retreat back through the town of Port Gibson and then north over Bayou Pierre. So this is Willow Creek, and this is the scene of late afternoon fighting. And you can see as that creek meanders down through there, much of this area is unchanged from the time of the battlefield. Of course, we've got the paved road, we've got a modern home sitting here, but the closer you get to the Schaefer House, the less modernized this area is. And it's one of the great things about coming out here to the Port Gibson battlefield. Like I said, if you don't really know where it is, it's hard to find sometimes. You can do it, but it takes a little planning. It's not like driving to Gettysburg or even Vicksburg or one of the parks that's just got signage and it's well maintained. This does not have a ton of signage. There's about 3 or 4 of signs like that throughout this road, and but in Port Gibson itself, there's not really any signage to point you out here, and so you kind of have to plan ahead. You can do it. There's some good books out there, one of which I use when I come out here, and let's see if I can get it in frame. This is the only guide to the Vicksburg campaign that I'm aware of The U.S. Army War College does these. They've got several others on different battles, and I've used them. They're okay. They're not the best, but at least gives you an idea of places that you want to stop. They quote a lot from the ORs, so they're not really conducive to driving to a spot and reading about it and figuring out what's going on. There are better ones out there. But as for the Vicksburg campaign, this is the only one that I'm aware of. And so it does at least give you places to go, places to stop. And if you've done your research on the front end, then you'll be okay when you get there. And you can just see the dense vegetation here that Baldwin's troops and Cockrell's troops and the 13th Corps divisions of Carr and Hovey would have had to fight through as they came along Willow Creek. And you can also understand that these troops have been fighting since dawn of May 1st, and now you're looking at 6 p.m. So you're talking about roughly 12 hours of fairly continual combat. So these troops are fatigued, they're tired, and if not for just the overwhelming odds, the Confederates may have been able to withhold them here. But Bowen's guys are outflanked on the Rodney Road by the defeat of Tracy's brigade over on the Bruinsburg Road, and so he must defeat, and Port Gibson is captured by Grant and the Federals.